Sponsored by Fitnexa. It's Mr. Mobile's favorite time of year, new Foldable Summer. Samsung's new season hinges on updates to its Flip, its Fold, and a little something in between. But you know that whenever possible, I like to share with you how the last generation of foldables has aged before we get to the new stuff. You know, you gotta eat your veggies before you have your dessert. Hold the salad. While it hasn't been in my pocket for the full year, my Galaxy Fold7 review unit has spent more time as my primary work phone than any other large format foldable, and it's got the scars to prove it. In fact, I've been such a careless carrier, without enduring any repercussions, that I got a little overconfident and took it out for some sun and fun on the beach just a few days before seeing the new Fold8 family. That did give me the opportunity to get some great photos, but it also gave me a heart stopper when I went to open the Fold7 afterward and was greeted by a grinding noise emanating from the hinge.
Ooh.
Yep, some sand found its way in, one granule somehow migrating under the display, and it created a pimple at the crease that brought back some very unwelcome memories from 2019 of the first Galaxy Fold's failures. Now, fortunately, this phone hasn't met an untimely demise yet, but I've definitely been treating it with kid gloves ever since. This is why people like me have been calling for years for manufacturers to focus not just on the water resistance portion of the IP rating, but on the first number also, the one that deals with dust. Spoiler alert, we are not going to get much reassurance on this front when we turn the page to see the Fold8 in a moment. First, let's finish up the Fold7's long-term report card. As tends to happen, my initial concerns have blossomed into annoyances over the months. The battery that lasted just long enough at the beginning is now something I need to baby a bit. I make sure not to leave the house without a USB cable for the car or a battery pack for everywhere else. It still does get me through a full day, and my usage is quite heavy, but without much margin for error. The lack of MagSafe continues to chafe. The camera quality still doesn't quite justify the wobble, especially when you hold it up against some of the competition. And while Samsung isn't the worst offender when it comes to emulating Apple's software design, it does it more than I'd like. But that is a small price to pay in exchange for timely platform updates. Samsung deserves praise for delivering on its promises here. As I shot this video, my Fold7 sample was sitting at Android 16 with a security patch current up to this month. Meanwhile, the One UI version of Android 17 is in beta, with release expected next month or so. Not too shabby compared to much of the competition. Performance hasn't slowed at all over the past year either, which helps justify the expensive silicon Samsung keeps packing in year after year. Another spoiler, all three of the phones you're about to see pack the newest top-shelf Snapdragon chipset yet again. And possibly the thing that's aged the best for me is the design. The Fold7 was one of the thinnest and lightest foldables ever made when it dropped, and every time I pick it up, a little part of me is still so impressed that this much phone fits in a package this pocketable. At press time, it's down $500 from its launch price, so $14.99, and that, plus the other upsides I just mentioned, makes it one of the rare foldables I'd still recommend a year after its launch. Just keep it away from the beach. Next up, it's off to London to see the Fold8 family in all its titanium-backed glory. But first, I know you can see it in my eyes, I need some sleep.
You know what I love about sleep? Absolutely everything. You know what interferes with sleep, though? Almost anything.
So when I'm traveling for events like this, I often try to use earbuds to protect that sleep. But I'm a side sleeper, so I haven't found any buds small enough to sleep with comfortably. Until now. These are the SomniPods 3 from my sponsor Fitnexa. They're the smallest earbuds I've ever used, tiny enough that they don't get, jammed into my ear canals when my head hits the pillow. But they've still got active noise cancellation, which means the roar of airplane engines or having a hotel room too close to the elevator isn't a problem for me anymore. I imagine this would also help suppress a snoring partner, but, I wouldn't know anything about that. Of course, you can play whatever audio you like through the SomniPods, but I enjoyed trying out the Fitnexa app with its mix of natural soundscapes, meditation, and noise colors across the spectrum. Check out SomniPods 3 at the link in the description, and that link will automatically take $10 off. Thanks to Fitnexa for sponsoring this video. Part 2 requires a little disclosure here. Samsung flew me to London, along with a few plane loads of other media, to see its new foldables. But I do my absolute best not to let that affect my editorial opinions. Samsung does not get to approve or even see my videos before release, and it does not pay me to produce them. If I were a paid Samsung influencer, I probably wouldn't be able to complain as much about, for example, the absence of magnets on these phones. You need to buy a MagSafe case to stick these to anything, or the duller colors of this year's collection, or the continued lack of proper dust resistance. Yeah, don't let that 4 fool you. It's better at keeping out ants than dust bunnies. All of those are bummers of various degrees. That said, if you saw my latest episode of Into the Fold, you knew I was going to be excited about this. The Galaxy Fold8 ushers in the second coming of wide foldables. Yes, Oppo and Google and even Microsoft did it first, and Apple will likely do it next. But for now, the Fold8 is special. This phone is all about aspect ratios. 10:16 on the cover display, 4:3 landscape on the interior, and therefore 3:4 in portrait if you rotate it 90 degrees. That's important on the inside, not just because it's a little friendlier for video, but because it gives you more canvas to split apps side by side. This is still, in part, a productivity play. And on the outside, the squatter cover screen finally gives Samsung a product it can offer to those who've always found the Fold a little too tall to use one-handed, or a little too narrow to type on. The Fold8 shares some upgrades with its stablemate, the more familiar Fold8 Ultra, namely a display with 3,000 nits of peak brightness, up from 2,600 last year, and a new anti-reflective coating, which was sorely needed to keep these competitive. Each phone also replaces a layer of polymer beneath the display with titanium alloy film for more durability and reduced thickness. While the creases aren't quite as zero feel as Oppo achieved on its Find N6, that's the only downside I can see at this point. Overall, the display on each Fold8 is very impressive. And you can really feel the weight savings, on the wide boy in particular. 201 grams gives it the perfect amount of heft. As soon as I picked it up, I suspected this would become my new go-to foldable. There's just something so right about the way this feels. Now, unfortunately, the Fold8 isn't likely to be a content powerhouse with this slightly anemic optical array. For nearly $1,900, I need a good telephoto camera, and we've seen it done on the Pixel Fold, which is close to this size and shape. But the Fold8 settles for just a main and an ultra-wide, both at 50 megapixels. I pestered company reps about this, and they say it's all about optimizing for a specific kind of buyer. Those who want better zoom shots will apparently be referred to the $2,100 Fold8 Ultra, with its... I'm sorry, this thing still muddles through with a 10-megapixel 3x zoom? I mean, I haven't reviewed it yet, but Well, at least there's slightly better news on the batteries. Samsung is still conservative when it comes to capacity, but 4,800 mAh on the Fold8 and 5,000 on the Ultra at least bring the foldables closer to alignment with the Galaxy slabs. And charging speeds of 45 watts wired and 20 watt wireless, up from 25 and 15 last year, are welcome improvements also. And finally, lest we forget, there's also a Flip8 coming to market. At first glance, it doesn't seem like a big change year over year, and that's to be expected. 2025 was a big leap forward for this product line, so a little modest iteration is no surprise. Nor, sadly, is the price bump to $1,200 starting. The component cost inflation of the Rampocalypse continues to haunt us all. The Flip doesn't get the new satin display finish of its siblings or the new titanium layer underneath, but by shaving a few grams and millimeters off the last model, Samsung has made the Flip8 the thinnest and lightest flip phone out there. And even more important, to nerds like me at least, is what this new cover display brings with it. We can finally easily add apps to the outer screen, just like Motorola's been offering for 6 years or so. Hey, better late than never. Actually, snark aside, Samsung has actually gone a few extra steps here and rethought its approach to the entire cover screen experience. There's now something called Flex Window Home, which is a home screen with glanceable insights that keep you informed and let you take some actions without opening the Flip. Now, I've held off on saying AI all video long. You're welcome. But this is the kind of AI that I genuinely do find useful, if it's implemented properly. Samsung's track record hasn't been great about that so far. Looking at you, Nowbar. But, even if this fizzles, when you factor in the simple and effective widget layout, Samsung's rethought approach to notification and system controls, and the existing fun of animated wallpapers and games out here, the Galaxy Flip might finally be giving the Razr a run for its money in the cover display department. Are these the phones that will finally kickstart the foldable revolution? No, I don't think so. 4-digit price tags, compromises in durability and cameras, and utility that's just not apparent to enough normal people to overcome those drawbacks. It's totally fair if you're not into this category. But if Apple does enter the space, as expected, in a couple months, and it has the usual effect on the rest of the market, we're about to see the biggest surge in foldable interest maybe since the very beginning. With mature products in Flip and Fold, and what looks to be a strong start in the hybrid subcategory, Samsung seems like the company in the best position to lead the foldable conversation as we head into this new era. Now, whether that turns out to be true will depend on how good these actually are out in the real world. So stay tuned for my reviews of all of these, coming soon on Mr. Mobile. Folks, as I mentioned, Samsung did provide travel and lodging so I could attend Samsung Unpacked in London. All of the devices featured in this video are review samples provided by Samsung. But as always, no company ever has editorial input or copy approval rights concerning my review content. Please subscribe to Mr. Mobile so you don't miss those reviews coming soon. And if foldable products are your thing, I've covered almost all of them, so feel free to dive into the backlog. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, Captain Two Phones on socials, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.